This week's word of the week is RODI filtration. I spent the last 4 hours researching and writing this script, and normally I like to memorize it, but RODI filtration is full of so much jargon that I'm just going to read the script, so mea culpa in advance. And if you are a chemistry nerd, you know who you are, please leave a comment below correcting all of my scientific inaccuracies. All right, here we go. RODI filtration. RODI filtration stands for reverse osmosis deionization filtration. At its most simple level, an RODI filter removes contaminants from water, resulting in pure H2O. But how does it work? Most RODI filters have 4 unique stages. The first stage is a sediment filter, which removes visible particulate matter. It's just like a sponge filter in any aquarium. It lets water pass through but catches large suspended particles like food, waste, and debris. A standard 1 micron filter will remove particles greater than a micron, while a 0.5 micron filter is more dense and filters out even smaller particles. The second stage is a carbon filter, which, while removing visible particulate matter, goes beyond to remove chlorine, volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, odors, and unpleasant tastes from the water. Okay, a lot of you probably already knew that, so let's dig deeper and explain how it works. Activated carbon is charcoal that's been treated with oxygen to create a wide open pore structure between the carbon atoms. It uses a filtration process called chemical adsorption, not absorption, but chemical adsorption. Basically, as water passes through the highly porous charcoal, certain impurities become trapped/chemically bonded to the carbon. While carbon filtration is great at removing chlorine, VOCs, odors, and tastes from the water, it is not effective at removing dissolved compounds, salts, or minerals, hence the need for further filtration in an RODI system. The third stage, reverse osmosis, is a bit more confusing to understand. First off, we need to understand what osmosis is. Simply defined, osmosis is the process whereby water molecules travel through a semi-permeable membrane from an area of lower to higher solute concentrations. The easiest way I understand this is to think about human sweat. How does the water pass through your skin? Well, it uses osmosis. A little bit of salt is deposited in your sweat glands, and through osmosis, water passes through your skin, which is a semi-permeable membrane, and toward the area with a higher salt concentration. Why does water act this way? We can think about it in 2 ways: physical size and ionic charge. First, if we visualize the semi-permeable membrane, the openings are only big enough for water molecules to pass through, so larger molecules are stuck on one side or the other. Physically speaking, if a solution only contained pure H2O, those water molecules would be zooming back and forth between the membrane in equal amounts. But when you add a larger solute to one side of the semi-permeable membrane, let's use salt as an example, those larger compounds could block the semi-permeable membrane from time to time, meaning the small water molecules would not be able to travel through that membrane. Not only that, but water molecules will be bumping into the larger salt compounds, thus reducing their overall chance of passing through the membrane. Both of these factors result in a net movement of water from one side without salt to the side with salt. The second way to understand osmosis of water molecules is through ionic charges. Salt, when dissolved in water, breaks down into a positively charged sodium ion and a negatively charged chloride ion. Water is a polar molecule, meaning there is a partial negative charge on the oxygen atom and a partial positive charge distributed between the 2 hydrogen atoms. So the negatively charged oxygen atom in a water molecule is attracted to the positively charged sodium ion, while the positively charged hydrogen atoms are attracted to the negatively charged chloride ion. Thus, there is again a net movement of water molecules through the semi-permeable membrane from the side without salt to the side with salt. So if you think about this relating to purifying water, osmosis wouldn't do a thing. That's because the natural tendency of water is to move toward the larger ions, molecules, and particles. So you would have the clean water moving towards the dirty water. This is where reverse osmosis comes in. It applies external water pressure to reverse this process, thus forcing the smaller water molecules through a semi-permeable barrier, thus separating water from the larger ions, molecules, and particles. Thus, reverse osmosis produces more pure water because only it can pass through the semi-permeable membrane. Reverse osmosis membranes can remove up to 99% of impurities in water, such as salt, particulate matter, lead, and many other chemicals. The last stage of an RODI filtration system is deionization resin, which, compared to reverse osmosis, is a little bit easier to understand. By the time your water reaches the DI resin, it is likely 99% clean, but not quite there yet. Whereas an RO membrane is a kind of mechanical filtration, DI resin is a chemical filter. Deionization removes both organic and inorganic ionized minerals and salts through a process of ion exchange. Basically, DI resin removes total dissolved solids, or TDS, from the water by use of ion exchange resins. So how does this work exactly? DI filtration contains both a positively charged cation resin and a negatively charged anion resin. Let's say there is a little bit of dissolved salt, which is Na plus Cl negative, or NaCl, in your product water. As that water passes over the positively charged cation resin, the positively charged sodium ion is exchanged for a hydrogen ion, and when that same water passes over the negatively charged anion resin, the negatively charged chloride ion is exchanged for a hydroxyl ion, or OH negative. The hydrogen, which is H+, and the hydroxyl ion, which is OH negative, join back together, forming pure H2O. So what does DI resin then exactly filter out? Well, for example, the positively charged cation resin attracts the positively charged ions in water such as calcium, magnesium, and sodium, while the negatively charged anionic resins attract those negatively charged ions such as fluoride, chloride, and sulfate. Episode 4's word of the week, RODI filtration.